Well, meantime, embattled Republican Congressman George Santos is breaking down the lies and admitting his dishonesty. In an interview with Piers Morgan Uncensored, he apologized for lying about his resume and not attending college. Take a listen.
I'll save you I did not attain a college education. That regrettably so is one of my biggest regrets in life.
So that was a lie.
Absolutely. And I admitted to it, and I've made peace with the fact that I made a bad choice in making that decision. It wasn't easy.
What's the simple explanation for why would you lie about something like that?
Expectation on society, the pressure, couldn't afford it. Decided I wanted to run for office, although I had built a very credible business career. And I just didn't have that part of my biography that I could not give anything.
Did you not think that you'd be cool?
You know, I just went with it. I didn't think, I mean, if you're going to make up a lie, are you thinking at all? I just think it was a stupid decision in my part. Very stupid decision that I regret every day. Especially because I could...
All right, so joining us now, Michael Schnell, congressional reporter with our partners at The Hill. Michael, thank you for being with us. So we just heard Santos there say expectations from society as being one of the reasons, basically blaming everyone else and saying he essentially got away with lying before, so why not this time? You have been covering Santos, his many fabrications. What struck you the most from this interview?
Yeah, Nichole, this was a really interesting interview, roughly 40 minutes that Piers Morgan pressed Santos on these number of fabrications regarding his resume. Two things that really stuck out to me. It's that first thing that you mentioned in your question, that George Santos said that, well, I'll humor you with this. No one realized these fabrications in 2020. That he said that when Piers Morgan had said, well, did you not think that anyone was going to pick up on these lies? And that's what George Santos said. And then Piers Morgan came back and said, so does that mean that because you got away with it in 2020, you didn't think anyone would pick up on it this time around? And he said yes. So that was a really interesting revelation that George Santos let out right there, because I think one of the questions that have been central to this controversy is how could George Santos think that he could get away with making these overt fabrications on the national stage when you're running for Congress. The other part that I really thought was interesting was he recognized that his credibility has taken hits during this controversy. He told Piers Morgan, I know that it's going to take a long time and it's going to be a long road to rebuild this credibility. So he's recognizing the ramifications of these past actions on the campaign trail. So again, a very interesting interview, but those were two of the moments I thought were interesting, getting a sense into George Santos's mind and then realizing that he's recognizing that his actions have repercussions.
All right, so during this interview, he also doubled down, though, on his claims his grandparents fled the Holocaust and clarified his claims that he is Jewish. Let's listen.
This is the one that I'll battle to my grave, to the point that I've already ordered those DNA test kits, and I've done 4 of them so far, and I'm just waiting for their returns, and I'm very curious to share those with everybody.
But you would understand that if that wasn't true, if your grandparents hadn't survived the Holocaust, that would be a pretty awful thing to
That would be why would I play with that?
Well,
That's you know, I'm one of the most staunch pro-Israel, most staunch pro-Judaism people in Congress today.
Well, so much so you claim to be Jewish, but you're not Jewish.
I never claimed to be Jewish. Pierce, I've always made this as a party favor joke, and I've done it on stages across this country.
What's funny about falsely claiming you're Jewish?
No, not falsely claiming I'm Jewish. I'd always say I was raised Catholic, but I come from a Jewish family, so that makes me Jewish.
But again,
it's always been a party favor. Everybody's always laughed, and now that everybody's canceling me, everybody's pounding down for a pound of flesh.
Because you're not Jewish.
Well, I never said I was.
I've said you were.
And I would always say, but my grandparents are Jewish on my mother's side, so I'm Jewish. That was always a joke. Everybody used to laugh it up. I said it to a room with 1,000 people in November. People were hysterically laughing. It was funny to them. They loved it.
I don't think Jewish people find it funny.
They were Jewish. I was in a room with the Republican Jewish
Coalition.
Do you think Jewish
people find it funny that a U.S. Congress...
And although people could have been laughing, Michael, certainly doesn't make it true. Does this interview give more ammunition to his many detractors? Was it a good idea for him to speak publicly and admit to some lies?
It's entirely possible, Nichole, that this interview could give in to those detractors because, like you said, he is doubling down on these defenses for these claims that have come under intense scrutiny. But I will note, though, that in terms of whether or not it's a good idea for George Santos, to speak to the media. He has claimed on a number of occasions that he has no intention of resigning, that he plans to serve out the remainder of his 2-year term. That's a lot of time. We're only about 2 months into the 118th Congress right now. He can't avoid the press during that entire time. And he does answer questions within the halls of the Capitol when the House is in session. He has done previous media interviews. So in terms of whether or not this was a good idea, I think it's important that he speaks to the media. And if he is going to continue with these claims, to provide his defense, because reporters do have questions for him and he should be providing an answer. Whether or not his answers, how that will play out in terms of his detractors and in terms of more reporting that could come out and debunk those answers, that remains to be seen. But I think it's important that he's talking to the media because he's a public official. He was elected by constituents. He should be asked questions about these claims that have come under really intense scrutiny.
Oh, he absolutely should. Yeah, and we'll see whether or not he does serve out this 2-year term. All right, Michael Schnell, thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.